So I think we may end up doing quite a bit of road hunting just because there are so many roads. I guess the theory is like you could get out and do a little hiking and cover a small area, or you could drive and cover a much larger area and look over more deer. I was here yesterday and about half a day the day before that. I probably have seen, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks I would bet at this point, and probably 200 head plus does. They're rutting pretty good, so just a matter of finding the right one. Just a different kind of hunting for me. This is a pretty steep one. You think we can get back up it?
See?
We'll find out if the Forerunner's made for it. We haven't even tinkered with these yet. The TRD. Just get some sagebrush. Got a little gas in your hands or some blood. Get your hands clean. You just want to film an old man climbing into his truck. That's what I feel like getting out of my tent in the morning. My joints and everything, I feel like I'm not a spring chicken anymore. When you apply in Nevada, you never really anticipate drawing a permit. Being a non-resident, my hope is that if I stay the course long enough that I'll eventually draw an elk tag or a sheep tag, and then maybe every so often I'll draw a deer tag or an antelope tag. And when I applied, I made my selections kind of based on what my preferences were, which are always archery. I like to bow hunt a lot. Nevada's unique in that they've got some of these limited entry, late season archery deer opportunities. You know, I never thought I would have drawn this permit. I was super shocked when I actually saw that I had drawn. And looking at the draw odds, I've since gone back and looked, and I remember it being like 0.65%, so less than 1%, which is shocking to me. It was like one of those pulling a rabbit out of a hat moments. Yeah, just being excited. Like, it's always exciting to draw a deer tag in Nevada. Doing e-scouting, I did a lot of talking to people. I also did a lot of map work, looking at GOHUNT maps. So there were roads and trails on almost every part of the unit. Every canyon pretty much had a road in it. Every ridgetop pretty much had a road in it. It didn't take me too long to kind of put together a plan that really the key to this hunt, given the roads and the trails and the access, and then also just the nature of that time of year where those deer are moving a lot, that I was going to end up doing a lot of driving and a lot of glassing. And like I said, it's not typically my style of hunting. It's not even remotely my favorite kind of hunting, but it's a really cool opportunity to hunt deer in the rut and get to look at a lot of bucks. But yeah, very different from the type of hunt that I'm used to doing. A different test in patience, I would say. Oh, there's some more deer over here. It might be worth the trip back. Oh, what a sunset, huh? Did you see this?
It's insane.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, that wind is beating me up today. West Texas wind, got nothing on this, does it?
No, not at all.
Probably 10 bucks. One pretty good 4-point. And just some small bucks, but it just feels like this is going to be one of those hunts where you gotta be patient. Sometimes it's hard to be patient when the wind's blowing all day and it's cold and you're bouncing around in a truck, but I guess that's just the nature of the beast. Just try to stay patient and stay positive and keep looking. Hopefully a big one rolls into your life. I just want to find one, you know. If I could find one, I feel like, especially if you had some does pinned down, I could just hunt him, try to get him killed, but keep looking. Try not to get blown off the mountain. Maybe a Reese cup for dinner. sleep. That would be nice, huh? I like it. This little road, I didn't run out last night, but it kind of goes out and circles this big basin back to where we were seeing those deer last night. There's the thing about hunting this time of year is it's like anywhere there's does, there could be a big mature buck just show up any given night. So you feel like you have to just go back and keep checking the does. Unfortunately, the best way to do that is just a lot of windshield time, and I hate that. It's not my favorite style of hunting. It kind of sucks. It's actually harder in my opinion than just getting out hiking. We'll just keep looking. Now I'm going to take a look at this buck and see what he is. He looks pretty good. He's probably so sick of us at this point. Just driving around this knoll looking at him from all the different angles. I had him bedded here just a second ago, and I was actually kind of kicking around the idea of making a loop on him and coming in from above. It would have been a pretty nice stalk. But I got more days ahead of me. Well, I got 7 days.
Something like that.
6, 7 days. You just never know what you're gonna turn up. Camp is basically composed of any flat spot about maybe an hour after dark, close to an area that I think we might want to hunt in the morning. Just essentially pull off the road, pull out the tent, throw it out, throw the sleeping bag in it. It's basically just dirty hippie camping is what we're doing. Just throwing it out, sleeping, getting up, throwing everything in the truck, and then just running all day. So it's not very glamorous. I've just been using that Hilleberg Enon, and Luke's been sleeping in the back of his truck. It's been warm enough. We haven't had to really worry about a stove or anything like that. No heaters. It's been, I would say, lows in the 30s, maybe even. I don't think it's touched 20. You? Maybe?
28, maybe?
Maybe 20. But it's been pretty warm, so it's worked pretty good, and it's quick. Surprisingly, I'm tired, even though I haven't done really much other than drive around in glass all day. About 7 o'clock, I'm ready for bed, so eat some chicken coconut curry. I did download a couple podcasts today when I was up on top of the hill, so I made do a little listening to podcasts tonight and just drift off to sleep and dream of big bucks. Tomorrow might be the day, finally. Back driving in glass. Everybody I talked to said this is a migration hunt. As you can see, it's been dry as a bone. No snow to speak of to get them moving, but figured I at least got to come up and check some new country. Just driving glass. On repeat. I got nothing, Luke. I'm perplexed to why there's no deer up here on this end. But I guess at least it gives me one more piece of the puzzle. Eliminate the areas where there's not any deer. What is it that Brady says? Hunt not where you think the deer are, but where the deer are.
Where they actually are?
Where they actually are. I can't remember what his saying is, but it's something like that. So far, where they actually are not is right here. Yes, I mean, on a hunt like this, really the nature of the game is just covering as much country as you can until you find a buck that you really want to dedicate your time and your effort into. And those first few mornings, we looked at a lot of country, we looked at a good number of deer, and I just really hadn't found anything that I was dead set on. And I think I got a little bit of wanderlust. I wanted to look at every part of the unit. I wanted to look at as many deer as I possibly could. And so that morning we moved north a bunch of miles and we ended up seeing a couple of bucks. The first buck that we saw was a really nice buck. We climbed up onto this hillside where I could glass in this little basin. And this is a buck that got me excited. I mean, it's got extras. It's got a really nice frame. You could definitely tell he was kind of the king of the area. He had the most does and was kind of working these does. Feels like the hunt really starts when you find a buck that you're excited about. And I was excited about this buck. I mean, he's just a cool buck, a good representative of, what I felt like that area had to offer. And it was a buck that I would have been really excited to take home with my bow. They're running right at us. Right here in this little pocket, there's probably, 18 deer and probably 4 or 5 bucks, and one buck I think I'd probably shoot. I'm just gonna see if I can find him. If I could put him to bed and put him in a good spot, I'd at least try a stalk on him. It's kind of fun to see. It's fun to see a buck with some extras. Yeah, decent frame. He's not super heavy, but he's got those extras. Yeah, that's cool. I think I'm gonna drive right over here to this saddle, work up onto that next face, and just see if I can sneak up on top and pick him up off the backside of that ridge. Do the do. It's gonna get flat because it's bouncing around so much. Team Road Hunt. Hashtag Team Road Hunt. He's got that one doe with him, and I think all those other bucks have been cleared off. I think he's just right there in that little aspen patch. He has like a little, looks like a little kicker maybe off of that one side, so he might actually be like a 6x5 or maybe even 7x5. He's a pretty cool buck. I'd like to shoot him. I'd love to shoot him. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get my boots on and get my stuff together. I'm gonna pull the truck off. I think I'm gonna make my way out across this flat, just up onto that little bench. I think I'm just gonna go really slow once I top out right there and just glass, and hope I can pick him up. And then maybe this afternoon he either pops out the bottom, he may work right into my range. Trying to stay this side of him. Keep my wing going that way of him. I think he's just right off of that. I'm hoping he gets up and kind of works this way where the rest of those deer were this morning. We got in tight. I was working in. I didn't know exactly where the buck was, which is always kind of a downfall if you're spot and stock mule deer hunting. You want to get as close as you possibly can, but ideally you want to know where that buck is at. Not knowing where he was at, I just slipped in as close as I possibly could, and it's that telltale sign that every bow hunter knows. If you've hunted long enough, it's that wind switch. You feel it on the back of your neck. Immediately pretty much saw that buck blow out, and he took off with his does, kind of pilled out, went through the valley, and ended up basically going back the exact same direction that he'd come from. So a little bit of heartbreak, obviously. I did feel like, given the time of year and the fact that this buck seemed to be locked down on that herd of does, that it wouldn't be the last time I got a chance to hunt him. He ended up working back and up and over, like I said, to originally kind of where we first saw him. Back up the canyon, we found the buck that we put the stock on. It looks like he's bedded out in the sage. He's got a few other deer kind of chasing around. It looks like maybe 3 or 4. But he just laid down. I'm just trying to get a good look at him. He'd be awful hard to sneak up on because he's just out in the sea of sagebrush, but I don't know. Just have to see if what's possible. Just better right in the sage right off of that little cut. So we're just going to turn the truck around, drive off, hit the road, drive up a little ways, and then probably just walk up to the edge of that cut. There's a big bush that's a good reference, and he's bedded maybe 35, 40 yards beyond it. Head down there and see if we can get on him one more play tonight. Give it hell. We're going to do a drive-by on this buck. But for real, he's bedded maybe 100 yards. It looks maybe 100 yards off the side of the road on the uphill side. So we're just gonna roll up here and park. We're just gonna hug the shoulder and just walk up. We got one bush for reference. He's bedded maybe 50 yards past that. We're just gonna give it a try and see if we can get close to him and get a shot. We put another stock on him. It was kind of a half attempt. I think we ended up getting to like 110 yards and he kind of slipped up and over and just disappeared. But given the nature of the time of year and the fact that he seemed to be locked down with this herd of does, I felt like it was a buck that we could pick up again the next day and, you know, have a reasonable chance on. One of the great things about this permit and the time of year is that there were so few people in the field. It wasn't like I was having to, work against other hunters. So at that point, like, I'm just enjoying the hunt. I'm enjoying the stock. Obviously a little bit disappointed from the day that I didn't actually get a shot and get that buck killed. But, anytime you're out in the woods and, you get a chance to hunt unpressured deer, especially during the rut with your bow, it's tough to beat.
Well, that probably wasn't going to work, but I figured I'd just keep at it and see. You never know. But I didn't think it was going to work. The rut's a weird time of year. Animals don't act like they normally do. There's no way in a million years that this same deer, the buck or the doe, would let me get away with any of this in August or September. No chance. Hopefully I can find him tomorrow and put him in a better spot for a stalk. It's fun. Fun day.
Yeah, so he's got a doe just absolutely buried in this bush. He's kind of working his way towards her. Looks like there's maybe 2 little bucks and then maybe 3 other does. They're just on that hillside, kind of spaced out. Looks like he's finally getting a bite to eat, so that's good. Which is what I'm doing. Salt and vinegar, macadamia nuts, and some Fritos for breakfast. Breakfast of champions. I'm just gonna have a cup of coffee and just watch you. See if we can put him in a bed permanently. The thing I like about this buck is that I kind of get to be up here in this basin by myself and have my own experience. I haven't seen a vehicle in 2 days up through here. I feel like I'm developing a little bond with him, One of my very favorite things in hunting is just finding an animal that I like and then just putting my time and my effort into that one animal. And like the hunts that I've done like that, where it's worked out and I've actually tagged out on that animal, seem to be like the most fulfilling, just regardless of size. I don't know, I just like figuring out one animal and hunting one animal, and I like the fact that I'm the only one up here in this basin. There's nobody else bumming around, so I think it's just going to be me and this buck until I kill him, so. Even though they're in a perfect situation as far as wind and topography goes, it's really hard. When you're hunting during the rut with a bow, you have to get past all those eyes and ears. So you got all those does, you got those small bucks, and it's just challenging, and that's what makes bow hunting fun. But ultimately, that buck, the does, the small bucks, they kind of moved up and over the ridge and disappeared. And again, they weren't hard spooked, so I thought that there was a chance that I might get another crack at them if I was just patient and kind of remained still and then tried to pick them up later in the day, which is what we ultimately did. We let them move off, let them go up and over the ridge. We gave it a few minutes. We ultimately ended up seeing them bed again in a little ravine, which allowed me to make another loop around to the backside of it and then once again come over on top of them.
Straight away from us. Be a tough stalk. May be able to go down this wash. Buck just bedded down. He's like at the top of this windrow of like bigger bushes. He just bedded. I think this is a little draw right here. I may work up that face this evening.
I just kept working, and at one point I kind of lost him, but I could still see other deer that were bedded, so I knew we had to be close. And at one point I remember ranging a deer that was bedded out in front of me, and it was like 60 yards. And so at that point I'm starting to think through the process of actually being able to make a shot, and trying to get my nerves right, trying to get my head prepared to make and execute a shot. And at that point, I remember seeing the buck kind of get up and move, and he actually worked up the hill, and he was working right towards me. And he was coming in head on, and I think at one point he was probably under 50 yards facing me. And I remember thinking, this thing's about to blow up. I didn't have hardly any cover at all, and it did. They didn't really know what was going on, and he ended up going down through this little ravine, and he jumped up on the other side. And at that point, I'd ranged where I thought he was going to go through. It was 62 yards, which is a shot that I felt like I could make. And he did that classic mule deer stop and look back. And if you hunt mule deer long enough, I guarantee you've all seen it, but they like to do that. They like to stop and give you that last look. And it was at that point where I had a good range. I came to full draw. I felt like I leveled out. I felt like I went through my whole shot process. The shot broke. And, he did that classic mule kick that you see deer do. And at that point, like, I was elated. I thought for sure that, I was going to be on a phenomenal buck in just a few minutes and get to kind of relish and enjoy that moment. But I remember standing there looking at him and just waiting for him to go down. And, he never did. And he ended up actually slipping up and over the ridge. And then he turned and went straight down.
I cared. The shot felt good. I thought to me it looked mid-body, but he didn't tip over dead right there, which makes me concerned. I thought the shot felt good. I just want to find him. I could see blood coming down his opposite front, this side, but I couldn't see this side, which would have been the entry hole on his right. This is like the nerve wracking. He's definitely hit hard. He was standing over here on the skyline. He looked like he was hit pretty good, but when you don't see him go down, it sure makes me nervous. I think I'm gonna walk down here and see if I can find my arrow. Well, he definitely took most of it. It's not gut shot. I mean, you figure he's got that much of the arrow. Start track. My arrow. Dark red. It's not purple like liver, but I didn't see him go down, so it makes me wonder. He's got to be right here on this trail, huh? blood trailing this buck, and he got up out ahead of us. So he's still alive. I'm gonna have to put another one in him. I don't think he'll go uphill. I haven't seen him come out of that wash. It's gonna get dark on me here in the next probably half hour. I hate that. I hate it.
It's kind of a sickening feeling, but when you don't see that animal go down or you don't hear them go down, you start to have this doubt creep into your mind. What if things didn't go the way that they were supposed to? And as it worked out, I worked clear down into the wash, watched him all the way until dark, and then he actually went straight up the other side. And at that point, I lost light, and so I couldn't see him anymore. But the last time I did see him, he was moving uphill. He was moving well. And I was sick. The next morning we were back there. It didn't help that it was raining. You never want rain if you're trailing an animal. I looked for tracks. I looked for blood. I never did find another drop of blood. The top of that hill that he went over was actually a big mesa, and I ended up walking grids across the top of that mesa and then all the way to the other side of that mesa, just trying to pick a direction on where I thought he went. I thought about it. And every bow hunter, every hunter for that matter, has a decision to make. And the decision is to wrap it up and end your hunt, essentially punch your tag and quit, or whether you should keep hunting. I had the good fortune of having a cameraman with me and the ability to review the shot frame by frame. And I'd looked at it over and over and over. And ultimately, it looked like I had hit forward. It didn't look like there was any vitals that were hit on this animal. The buck was moving well. I'd watched him go up and over the ridge. Typically, a wounded animal won't go uphill and cover as much country as this buck did. The decision is do you keep hunting or do you quit? Where I kind of land on it is if I feel like I had mortally wounded an animal, if I feel like I'd killed that animal, I'm a lot more likely to quit and wrap it up and end my hunt. This buck, I didn't feel like I had wounded in a way that was going to mortally wound him or kill him. I felt like this buck was probably going to survive. I think it's a case by case, but it's a really tough decision, and it's not one that I take lightly. A life means a lot to me, especially the life of a mule deer, an elk, or any other animal that I might hunt. I really value that. I value that opportunity that I have to hunt. I value the resource, and it's a tough decision. I don't think it's one that'll ever leave me. It's something that I wrestle with even still.
No way. Let's just grab our bow. I'm gonna grab my arrows. I'm just gonna slip up in there and see if I can see him. Trail what just happened. So we were just driving down the road. That buck we've been looking for yesterday just ran across the road. Way down low in the PJ. He's probably 4 or 5 miles from where I was looking for him this morning. I'm just gonna grab my bow and just jump out and see if I can walk onto him. We're probably, I bet, 3.5, 4 miles from where we were looking for him this morning. Just driving down the road. Buck comes running across the road, and it's our buck. He's got a little bit of red still down his front leg that I could see. Definitely our buck, 100%. But he just crossed the road, went up into this PJ just on the backside of this ridge. I thought maybe if I grabbed my bow, he might hang up for a minute. Maybe get a chance to get another arrow in him, but this PJ is really thick and he just disappeared. But the good thing is like, he's doing good. I mean, he's by himself and he's dropped elevation. He's clear down here and there's PJ, but he's running fine, breathing fine. Obviously made it through the night. Didn't have any problems running in front of us, so he's doing good, healthy. Looks like he's gonna live, which is, consolation, I guess. But at least I know he's doing all right. That was wild. I don't know what the odds of that were, but it has to be astronomical that would happen. That was weird. Very weird.
The area that he moved into, I didn't think was conducive to being able to turn that buck up again. He was moving country, and it was a lot more, heavily wooded, and decided to move on and let the history with that buck kind of lie where it laid. Yeah, so I've been bow hunting at this point about 25 years, and I know that on most hunts that I go on, the reality is that I know that I'm probably only going to get one good chance at an animal. Bow hunting is extremely hard. I've often said it, but everything has to go absolutely perfectly. You have to have the wind in your favor. You have to stay hidden. You have to be able to have that animal put itself in a position that you're actually able to draw your bow and execute a shot. And then you have to make that shot. And on most hunts, you're probably only going to get one good chance. And I know that. And the rule holds true. It's pretty much held true on every bow hunt I've ever been on. And I've always kind of taken pride in myself in that when that one good chance does present itself, that I'm going to make the most of it. I know now my one good chance at that point I felt like could probably pass me. And at that point in the hunt, after I'd hit that buck and I hadn't killed him, I figured I would give it my best effort, but I felt like my chance at a mature buck was probably past. I know that I was going to keep hunting. I know I was going to keep hunting hard. I was going to give it my maximum effort. But that little, grain kind of sat in the back of my mind. That was probably your one good chance. Big buck right on the skyline. Where's his does? No does. He's just all alone. It's just a lonely old buck out on the prairie. Let's go make a run at him, should we? Good thing is he's alone. There's only one set of eyes and ears and nose that you have to beat. See how it goes? Got a yard sale on my truck.
lost my pen. I came walking over here just to check this little draw. I just got sloppy because I figured he was in that last one. I just went too fast. He stood up at 35 yards. Ran out to 80. They went up and over the top, but I know better than that.
Yeah, those last 4 or 5 days of the hunt, my mind was kind of starting to wander a little bit, if I'm honest. I was starting to think about home. I was starting to think about my kids' activities that I was probably missing out on. I have a really hard time ever giving up on anything, though. I like to stick things out. I like to give it the most effort that I possibly can. But going into those last 4 or 5 days, I was definitely not as optimistic as I was going into that hunt. It felt like some of the steam had faded away a little bit. I think on every hunt, you hit a point where you come to some sort of resolve that you've had the experience that you hope to, no matter the outcome, whether you were successful or not. And on this hunt, I felt like I had my chances. I felt like I'd had a really good chance on that buck. I felt like I'd made some mistakes on subsequent bucks, and those are mistakes that I shouldn't have made, but I did. And I just felt like I'd come to this resolution that it was probably time to head home. And it was kind of at that point in the hunt where I'd come to peace, I guess, with this hunt as a whole. I'd had some good moments. I'd learned some lessons. I'd seen some incredible country, and I felt like I'd had my chance, and it was just time to go home. I was disappointed in the fact that I hadn't harvested, I hadn't killed that buck, but I was also a little bit at peace with the experience that I'd had, and it was just time for me to head home and go home, see my kids. Ultimately, I was at peace with that decision. I felt good about it, and I had probably about a 30-40 minute drive back to camp to get my stuff gathered up. And I was driving along, and it was snowing. And it was kind of this, real pretty scene. I remember big snowflakes coming in, and I was driving along, and I was in this canyon bottom, and I remember thinking, I'm looking forward to going home. I'm looking forward to seeing my kids. And I looked out the passenger side window, and I can't believe that happened. Just coming up the road, just keeping an eye out, looked up. There's a group of deer right here. Nice 4-point buck. Probably one of the better bucks we've seen, to be honest. Probably the best buck I've seen in a couple days anyway. He just dropped down on the wash and cut the distance. He kind of was just preoccupied with those does. He worked right up on the ridge. He was 60 yards flat. Man, I aimed for a long time. That took a minute to get that one to go off, but it was, money right behind the shoulder. He went down maybe, 50 yards? Unbelievable. I'd pretty well given up. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Luke. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. I gotta move the truck. I just can't believe that happened. I mean, my kid's got a game tomorrow night, so we were just headed back to camp. We're just gonna pack up camp and work our way out and come around the corner and there's a nice buck. I'm in shock. He's a pretty good buck. I'm stoked. I'm so excited with that buck. After this whole hunt, I mean, it's been a different kind of hunt because it's not been physical because there's literally roads in the bottom, there's roads on all the ridges. You can glass a ton of country, and it's been a grind, a different kind of grind. It's definitely like a mental grind, but I was thinking about it last night when we were going to bed. Like, we haven't taken a nap ever, not one time. Like, we've gone all day long. We've covered country. We've glassed. I've done probably close to 600 miles just driving, glassing. It's just, I don't know how else to hunt this type of unit where you just have got so much access and roads and you can just see so much country. I just figured the more time and effort I put into just covering ground, I'd get lucky. I don't think you'd get more lucky than I just got right now. I'm thrilled, man. I'm so pumped. I'm just absolutely thrilled with that buck. Given the timing and just given everything, I'm so pumped with that deer. Like, what a pretty 4-point buck. I'm just happy, man. I'm happy the way everything worked out. I mean, I was really bummed out that I hit that buck and didn't find him, but seeing him the next day, you know, just moving and healthy. I had him run across the roads right in front of us, and he was just doing mule deer things and healthy and looked good, and I was bummed out about that whole scenario and how it happened. And then, I mean, I just had kind of resigned myself that I didn't think it was going to happen for me. And then, what a gift. Come around the corner and see this buck, and I'm thrilled, man. I'm thrilled with this deer. What a pretty buck. What a pretty deer. I think hunting is always, at least for me, it's always a mix of emotion. It's elation, it's excitement, it's a sense of accomplishment. It's what I live to do. I love bow hunting. I love it for the adventure, you know, the drive that it gives me. It's something to work towards annually. I spend all my summer days, you know, shooting my bow and tinkering with my equipment and, you know, working out to try to get ready to do these hunts. It gives me a sense of purpose and it gives me a sense of accomplishment. I just love bow hunting. I love it.